beyond circumstance, turning trials into testimony. Have you ever noticed how we tend to define ourselves by our worst moments? The layoff that blindsided us, the relationship that fell apart, the health diagnosis that changed everything. We become our circumstances. But what if I told you that the most powerful stories of transformation begin precisely at these breaking points? That your circumstances, no matter how devastating, don't have to define your potential. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Stacy Medcalf, a visionary whose work has transformed countless lives across continents. Her insights on resilience and purpose aren't just inspirational platitudes, they're battle tested truths that have pulled people from the depths of despair into lives of extraordinary impact. Through her own journey of overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles, she's created a framework that helps others see their trials not as dead ends, but as doorways to purpose. Her message is both simple and profound. Your circumstances do not define your potential. Every obstacle you overcome becomes part of your legacy. And perhaps most importantly, you can use your experiences to serve and uplift others. Let that sink in for a moment. The very things that have broken you could become the foundation upon which you build something extraordinary. Now, I know what you're thinking. Easy for you to say, you don't know what I've been through. And you're right, I don't. But I've witnessed enough remarkable transformations to know that human resilience is vastly underestimated. Consider this: we live in a culture obsessed with overnight success stories. We love the highlight reels, the meteoric rises, the I woke up like this narratives. But those stories are as rare as they are misleading. The truth: transformation is messy. It's uncomfortable. It's the kind of thing that makes you want to curl up in the fetal position and binge watch reality TV until the discomfort passes. It's waking up at 3 a.m. with your heart pounding and your mind racing. It's asking yourself if you have what it takes and not always liking the answer. But what if we stopped running from our trials and started seeing them as the raw material for our testimonies? What if the very experiences that seem designed to destroy us are actually preparing us for our greatest contributions? During my conversation with Stacy Metcalf, three powerful examples emerged that illustrate exactly how this transformation can unfold. Let me introduce you to Stacy Cullen, a tax partner specializing in nonprofit advisory. Now, I know what you're thinking. Tax law doesn't exactly scream inspirational transformation, but stay with me. Imagine being responsible for navigating the labyrinthine world of IRS regulations for nonprofit organizations that are quite literally feeding the hungry, housing the homeless, and healing the sick. One wrong move could mean devastating penalties for organizations already operating on razor thin margins. One misinterpreted regulation could divert precious resources away from their missions. The stakes weren't just high, they were human lives. For Stacy Cullen, this wasn't just a professional challenge, it was a moral imperative. With every form she filed, with every regulation she interpreted, she knew that real people, often society's most vulnerable, hung in the balance. Instead of being paralyzed by this pressure, she transformed it into purpose. She leveraged her legal expertise to demystify these intimidating processes. She developed systems to proactively address issues before they became problems. She built trust with executive directors by making the incomprehensible comprehensible. And the results? Not a single adjustment made to any Form 990 filed under her guidance. Penalties successfully abated. But the numbers only tell part of the story. Behind those achievements lies a deeper impact. Stacy didn't just help nonprofits avoid penalties, she freed up resources that could be redirected toward their missions. Every dollar saved from regulatory setbacks meant another dollar toward feeding the hungry, housing the homeless, or educating the underserved. Her circumstance, navigating a complex, high stakes regulatory environment, became the very platform from which she launched her greatest impact. But transformation isn't limited to professional challenges. Sometimes it emerges from the complex interplay between our personal and professional lives. Take Stacy Eads, an award winning entrepreneur and business coach, recognized as one of 50 women making a difference. As she scaled multiple ventures while balancing personal roles, she encountered the pressures familiar to many women leaders: gender bias, the challenge of sustaining high performance, the delicate dance of ambition and fulfillment. Early career setbacks could have derailed her. Instead, they fueled her determination to create platforms where other women could thrive without apology or fear of failure. She built supportive networks among female founders and leaders. She sought mentorships. And perhaps most importantly, she openly shared the lessons she'd learned, both triumphs and failures, with audiences worldwide. What makes her story particularly powerful is that she refused to compartmentalize her life into neat categories of professional and personal. She recognized that her effectiveness as a leader was inextricably linked to her authenticity as a human being. Today, her coaching has helped countless entrepreneurs scale their businesses effectively while maintaining that elusive balance between professional ambition and personal fulfillment. She's living proof that our challenges don't diminish our authority, they enhance it. Her circumstance, navigating the often hostile terrain of female entrepreneurship, became her testimony of resilience and community building. But what about those of us facing transitions later in life? What about the fear that it might be too late to start over? This brings me to Stacy Ricks, a digital marketer who specializes in empowering midlife entrepreneurs. Her audience often faces a triple threat: ageism, self doubt after major life transitions, and fears about starting over professionally later in life. Having undergone her own midlife reinvention, after significant personal and professional upheaval, Stacy created accessible coaching programs that make entrepreneurship approachable regardless of prior experience or age. What's remarkable about her approach is that she doesn't minimize the real challenges of starting over. She acknowledges the fear, the uncertainty, the moments of wondering if it's all worth it. But she also illuminates the unique advantages that come with life experience: wisdom, perspective, resilience, and a clearer sense of purpose. Her clients have gained the confidence to launch new ventures after career changes, divorces, and losses, achieving sustainable income streams aligned with their values and purpose. They're not just building businesses, they're rewriting the narratives of their lives. Her circumstance, midlife reinvention, became a powerful testimony that transformation is possible at every age, that adversity can become fuel rather than a roadblock. These stories from my conversation with Stacy Medcalf reveal a pattern that's too consistent to ignore. Our greatest challenges often contain the seeds of our greatest contributions. But how do we make this shift? How do we transform our trials into testimony? First, we must recognize that transformation rarely happens in isolation. Each of these women sought community. They built networks of support. They found mentors and became mentors themselves. They recognized that resilience isn't a solo sport, it's a team effort. Second, they approached their challenges with curiosity rather than fear. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they asked, "What might this be preparing me for?" That subtle shift in perspective changes everything. Third, they practiced radical honesty about both their struggles and their strengths. They didn't minimize their challenges or exaggerate their capabilities. They simply acknowledged reality and moved forward from there. And finally, they recognized that their experiences, especially the painful ones, gave them unique insight and empathy that could serve others facing similar challenges. This is where purpose emerges at the intersection of our deepest wounds and the world's deepest needs. I want to pause here and acknowledge something important. This isn't about toxic positivity. This isn't about slapping a smiley face sticker on your trauma and calling it a day. Some circumstances are genuinely devastating. Some losses are irreplaceable. Some injustices cannot be redeemed. But even in our darkest moments, we retain the power to choose how we respond. We retain the power to decide what meaning we assign to our experiences. We retain the power to determine how our story unfolds from this point forward. As Maya Angelou wisely observed, you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. That's the essence of turning trials into testimony, refusing to be reduced by our circumstances. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't just about personal transformation, it's about collective impact. When we transform our trials into testimony, we create ripple effects that extend far beyond our individual lives. We create possibility models for others facing similar challenges. We expand what people believe is possible for themselves. Think about it. How many times has someone else's courage given you permission to be brave? How many times has someone else's vulnerability helped you feel less alone? How many times has someone else's resilience inspired you to keep going when you wanted to give up? That's the power of testimony. It transforms not just the individual, but the community. So I challenge you today, look at your greatest trial, that circumstance you've been fighting, hiding, or running from, and ask yourself, what if this isn't just happening to me? What if it's happening for me? What if that health crisis is preparing you to advocate for others with the same condition? What if that financial setback is equipping you to teach others about resilience? What if that relationship breakdown is developing in you the compassion needed to counsel others through similar pain? Your testimony is waiting to be born, but it requires your courage to bring it into existence. It requires you to stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as a steward of experience. The world doesn't need more people with perfect lives. It needs more people with the courage to transform their trials into testimony. People who refuse to be defined by their circumstances and instead use their experiences to serve and uplift others. Your story isn't over. Your circumstances don't define you. Your trials can become your testimony. And that transformation from victim to victor, from wounded to healer, from broken to breakthrough, might just be the most powerful contribution you ever make to our world. The question isn't whether your circumstances will change, it's whether you'll allow them to change you for the better. The question isn't whether you'll face trials, it's whether you'll transform them into testimony. The choice is yours. What will your testimony be?